It's the 9th Frog Sunday we've done. And we do it every year on the first Sunday of Advent. Advent is the beginning of our Christmas season. The word Advent means coming. So the Advent season is a time of preparation for Christmas. And each Advent Sunday has a theme. Today, the first Advent Sunday, the theme is, guess what? Faith. And that's why we have Frog Sunday. Because Frog Sunday means what? Fully rely on God. Yay. So, over the years, you all have started giving me a collection. So I have this little angel frog. I just brought some of the cute ones. Just let my angel helper here put them back down. And Chris, would you come up here, please? Chris Minerva. Yeah, come on up here. And so I've got a frog backpack. Oh, boy. You know, and then you can fill that up with your important Unity things. That's to carry, wait a minute, I'm not done with you. That's to carry, you know, your daily word in and Bible. And then, in case it's a cold day, we have, anybody got a picture of this? Yeah. But strike that pose. Strike that pose. That's okay. And so Frog Sunday gives us a time to really experience the joy of our faith. Thank you, Chris. I have a frog license plate. In our bookstore, we have frog bumper stickers. And I got something new in the mail. It's called Frog Jam. We had a snowbird that used to come here that went back up, I think, Virginia or North Carolina someplace, and she saw this and said, I have to send it for Frog Sunday. It's got figs, raspberry, orange, and ginger in it. Jamming now. And then, can I have the one that works, Dixie? The mic that works. Is this one on? Thank you. Okay. And then, this was the very first one I got. And it still works because I take the batteries out until this time of year. And hang on. And then, I guess I better stop this. Okay. And then, of course, we have this guy. And if I can find his button.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog. He was a good friend of mine. I never understood what he said, but I helped him drink his wine. And he always had the mighty wine.
So, if you don't remember anything about this Sunday, thank you, Suzanne. You can. She's going, oh, Mom. You'll remember the frogs, right? Okay. So we're talking about faith. And the question always is, what is faith? And so we're just going to start a little bit with the Bible. Don't get scared there. But it's in Hebrews 11. Actually, I wrote it down. And the Bible says about faith, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Hoped for. Today's daily word said, with faith I first believe, then I see. So which is it? What's the difference? What's the difference between hope, between faith, between seeing and between faith. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Charles Blondin was the first person ever to walk across the Niagara Falls on a tightrope. You have a picture there, Dan? It was a long time ago. He didn't only do it, with that long pole. He did it on stilts. He did it on a bicycle. He did it blindfolded. One time he took a stove out into the middle and cooked an omelet on it. I know. And his grand finale was he pushed a wheelbarrow across it filled with a sack of potatoes. And when he got to land, they said the roar of the crowd was almost as loud as the falls. And with each step he took, as he pushed it, they were just oohing and ahhing him. So when he got to land, he looked at them, and he said to them, "Do you believe I can carry a person across the falls in a wheelbarrow?" And they went, "Yes, you're the greatest tightrope roper in the world. We believe." And then he said to them, "Okay, who wants to get in the wheelbarrow?" And no one did. However, a few months later, he carried his manager. Dan, you got that one? His manager across on his back. So, the crowd said they believed, right? They saw it with their own eyes. So why were there no takers? What was the difference? What was the difference between the manager and the crowd? What's the difference between hope, seeing, believing, and true faith? Hope is a desire, it's a feeling, it's an expectation that what I want is going to happen. We've all hoped for things, haven't we? A child at Christmas time hopes for a bike for Christmas. They're not sure they're going to get it, right? The crowd watched Blondin. They hoped he would make it. They weren't sure. They watched each step. They weren't sure if the next one he was going to slip, right? With hope, there is doubt. Have you found yourself hoping? And you're not sure, right? There's doubt there. What about belief? Belief is being convinced that something I heard, something I read, even something I saw is true. So a child hears his parent talking about a bike, but he still doesn't know he's going to get it, right? The crowd believed Blondin could cross the tightrope with a wheelbarrow. They'd seen it, but they weren't willing to get in that wheelbarrow. Why? What was missing? What's missing from your life? It's called faith. And Jesus said, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. Is my faith at that point that I really know nothing is impossible. So this couple went to church, and they heard this parable about the mustard seed. And when they got home, the wife was looking out her living room window, and she said to her husband, you know that little mound out there? It really blocks our view from the lake. Okay, Jesus said we could move mountains, so I should be able to move that little mound, right? I'm going to go to bed tonight, and I'm going to believe it can disappear. So the next morning, she got up, and she went to the window, she opened the drapes, and she looked out, and there was the mound. And she turned to her husband and said, see, I knew it wouldn't work. Is that my belief? Is that how my belief works? Hope and belief operate from our mind. They come from the thinking mind. Faith, on the other hand, is an inner knowing. It's a trust. And it comes from direct access to God, to Source, to the universe. You hear the difference? belief, hope come from my head. True faith comes from someplace much deeper. It's an unfaltering trust. And it moves us beyond hope. It moves us beyond seeing. It moves us beyond believing. It has nothing to do with my desires. It has nothing to do with the stories of my ego, my personality. For true faith, I have to go under that. I have to go deeper. I have to connect with what we call our Christ self, our spiritual essence. You know where it is. It's tucked way down inside there. I can only have true faith, trust with a capital T, when I connect to that which is beyond my mind. Do you hear that? Something that is beyond my thinking mind, beyond my personality, beyond my ego. Eckhart Tolle, who is the author of The Power of Now, A New Earth, says, the true meaning of faith is power. Power of consciousness itself. Beyond the noisy mind, into the dimension of life stillness. Can you feel it? Can you feel that place he's talking about? To get there, my personality, my ego mind have to be surrendered, because they're a door between me and faith, and the door is shut. I need to open it so I can move into my Christ spirit, my essence. Acts 17:28, this is one of my favorite scriptures. For in him we live and move and have our being. What does that mean? If you've experienced it, you know what it means. When I have real faith, true faith, I act, I live, and I speak from an inner state of connectedness. When I have faith, I have access to that direct line, the red hot telephone line to God. And that's unshakable. That's a knowing that nothing can shake no matter what happens in my life. I'm not guided by my ego anymore, but by universal intelligence. Have you ever had that glimpse? Have you ever had that universal intelligence come through and guide you? There's no doubt. You know the next step to take. When we live from this type of faith, from this type of trust, it is the end of all fear. And we can remain calm. We can remain strong when a life storm arises. There are two stories in the Bible about weathering the storms of life. One's in Matthew 8:23, and Jesus is in the boat. They're crossing the Sea of Galilee. And he's asleep in the stern. And all of a sudden the storm comes up, and the disciples, what do? They panic. And they go over to him, and they shake him, and they wake him up. And they say, we're going to die. And Jesus calmly gets up. He calms the seas, and he turns to them, and he says, why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? So with all your praying, with all your talking, with all your belief, do you become like the disciples when there's a storm in your life? And the other one is in Matthew 14. The disciples are in the boat alone. They're crossing the Sea of Galilee. Jesus is off in the mountains praying. And a storm comes up. And they panic again. And then they look up and they see Jesus walking to them on the water. And that scares them even more. They think he's a ghost. Isn't it something? These are the 12 guys that are the foundation. So it gives us hope, doesn't it? Doubt, but hope. And Jesus says, it is I. Do not be afraid. And Peter says, If it's you, tell me to come to you on the water. And Jesus goes, come. So Peter climbs out of the boat. He starts walking on the water. What happens? He gets scared, right? He looks down, he gets scared, and he starts to sink. And he yells out, Lord, save me. Have you been there? Have you done that? You're in a mess, and you're praying, and you're really trusting, and all of a sudden, yeah, you just start going down. Lord, save me. And Jesus caught him, brought him up, and said, you of little faith, why did you doubt? The crowd had seen Blondin walk the falls. They still doubted. The disciples had seen Jesus perform how many miracles? And they still doubted. When the storms arose, they reverted to fear. And that's what we call fair weather faith. Fair weather faith. Do I have fair weather faith? Does my faith disappear when a challenge arises? Because true faith, I have strength, I have courage, no matter what storm rises in life. So we're going to look at 3 ways that you can each individually ask yourself, where's my faith? And the first one is, do I live as though what I believe is true? Do I live as though what I believe is true? So ask yourself, what spiritual principles do I live by? Do I work by? Do I stand by, no matter what's happening? One power, one presence, the Christ within myself and others, law of mind action, prayer, meditation. Which ones are alive in my life? It's one thing to say we have faith, and it's another to live it, isn't it? Do I trust who's pushing my wheelbarrow? The second one, does my faith meet my need in time of crisis? It's easy to have fair weather faith, to hope, to be optimistic, to believe when everything's going okay, right? The sea was fine. The disciples were fine. They trusted. They believed. Does your faith see you through life's storms? When the storm is raging around you, does it give you a sense of security? Does it give you strength? Does it give you courage? Or like the disciples, do you panic? The third point, does my faith give me a sense of companionship when I'm alone? Do I have a feeling of oneness with the universe, with God, with everyone and everything when I'm all alone? Can I realize that I'm not only connected to something much vaster, but I am that vastness? Think about this in your alone time when you really feel totally, totally alone. Instead of reaching out here, trying to find somebody out here to keep you company or talk to, turn within. I've shared this before, but it's worth sharing again. At one time in my life, I was in a very successful business, but my business partner, significant other, was a crack cocaine addict. And we were in a strange city one night, and he was in rehab, and he didn't come home from rehab. And it was Michigan, it was winter, I was in this tall building on the 10th floor, and I was scared. And I had friends all over the country. So I started on the East Coast, and when I didn't have anybody to talk to there, I'd call, and I moved across the country until it was too late to call anyone. And I was alone. I felt as though I was backed into the corner. And when I turned and looked over my shoulder, I experienced the oneness. I experienced God. It was a changing point in my life. And sometimes we know that, right? Sometimes it takes us to hit bottom to get it. So it doesn't mean I'm wrong if I don't get it, and it doesn't mean I'm wrong if I don't have that faith all the time. But the best time to practice is when I'm in the middle of a storm. In that place of aloneness, can I know that I am an expression and an extension of the one? Because we are, because I am. When my faith connects me to the totality of all life, when I feel that oneness, I no longer see dividing lines between myself and others or the world. How can I? I can't. Because I know the oneness. And when that happens, the way I view the world, the way I interact with the world changes. I can't be a victim anymore. I can't react in anger anymore. Because all of a sudden I realize there's just one. The external reality becomes an extension of my inner knowing. My external reality, everything out here, becomes an extension of what's going on in here. And if this is strength, if this is peace, if this is oneness, then that's what this shows up as. We talk about the law of mind action. I change the way I see the world. So I actually am changing my world. I'm moving beyond my personality. I'm moving beyond my superficial ego to fully who I am in essence. This isn't who I am. My personality is who you see and what you see. I see your body sitting there. I see your personalities. And our personalities are wonderful. There's nothing wrong with them. Only if I forget that there's so much more to me. Can my personality blend with my spiritual essence? Can I put them both together? Because that's where the power is. That's where the excitement is. That's where I can do anything. We touch the source of all that we are, of all that is. And we become, listen to this, I love this, we become a servant of awareness. Can you feel that? A servant of awareness. I serve to be aware of everything. Of each person, of everything that's going on around me, of every piece of life. And when I do that, I am an expression of the one. I become an expression of life. God in you and through you can calm storms and move mountains. God in you and through you can calm storms and move mountains, but first, you have to connect to God in you. So this Advent season, you're going to strengthen your faith by practicing it. You have 4 weeks till Christmas. You're going to practice connecting to God, to Source daily through prayer and meditation. And then, as you go through your day, by becoming aware of your thinking. A servant of awareness. Can you be a servant of awareness this holiday season? Notice when that negative thinking pops up. Notice when you experience fear. And just go cancel. And then try to find something positive to focus on. Do something loving. Take action. Do something loving. Call someone you haven't talked to in a while. Say, hey, just thinking of you. You know, I really love you. Simple acts. We know those simple acts of love. This Advent season, move from hoping, move from believing and seeing to trusting by fully relying on God. Thank you.